Have a seat, Matthew. How are you?
Thank you.
I am editorially distant from this decision so that I can maintain my objectivity about ice cream and all this. But I hear that instead of a marathon medal at the end of today, you're going to get some Ben & Jerry's. So that's for all of you. But you got to stay. I don't think. So Matthew, thank you for joining us. And I am intrigued. I just want to start with it. So the Ben & Jerry's thing I'm going to read, just go right to the text, of course. This is a new Ben & Jerry's favorite. It says, "Welcome to the resistance. Together, pecan resist, exclamation point. We honor and stand with women, immigrants, people of color, and the millions of activists and allies who are courageously resisting the president's attack on our values, humanity, and environment. We celebrate the diversity of our glorious nation and raise our spoons in solidarity for all Americans." Take a stand and join these. Did you allow this to be made? Was this done under your direction?
I had nothing to do with it.
I mean, it's a remarkable statement on a product in which you're serving the nation and the world, Ben & Jerry's ice cream. And I'm just wondering, this is strident. Does stridency work in today's corporate culture?
There's a what and a how. I think, first of all, thank you again for having me. I really
Not at all.
And thank you all for being here. So there's a what and a how. So stridency could be the how, but around the what and what we're doing at Ben & Jerry's, I think there's a massive urgency. So a lot of people ask me, isn't it risky to take your business into these spaces? And the answer is yeah. But the reality is I think it's a hell of a lot more risky, particularly today, to not make it clear to the fans that you serve, the business that you're in, the communities that you serve, about what you stand for, where your products come from, how they're produced, why you're doing what you're doing, what your team's passionate about. In fact, I think that's absolutely central to running a business. So to be honest with you, when I get asked this question, I'm a little puzzled, because I think the risk is in being quiet. The risk is in being absent. The risk is in being unknown in these spaces.
So let me be cynical. The Colin Kaepernick move, folks are saying that was a bottom line, profitable move that added, a lot. That there was a lot of, economic sanity in that move. Is this product line profitable for you? Is this something that because you're doing it, that it's adding to your bottom line? Part of the thing we've been sorting out today is both purpose and profit, and I'm wondering if profit and purpose are merged in this, or whether this is a selfless act.
Okay, so a couple things. We're not going to make really any money on this at all. Right, so just be super clear.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that I'm not in the business of growing the ice cream company. Of course I want to grow the business. We're in 38 countries. We're enjoyed by millions of folks. And it's the team and it's our job to grow the business so that we can have a bigger impact. As it relates to specific things that we do, everything we do, if you tax that idea with making money or being profitable, you're going to dramatically reduce the impact that your business can have in the world. So on this one, we're not going to make any money. This is about putting our money where our mouth is and supporting organizations that are on the front lines. We've made a donation to 4 organizations that represent the values that we believe in. They're the ones doing the hard work. We're an ice cream company, and we don't want to take ourselves too seriously. We get behind folks that are actually doing the real work of driving progressive social change, whether it's on social justice or climate justice. That's what we do.
So I've noticed in your company you don't have a chief of corporate social responsibility. Are you the chief of corporate social responsibility? Is it a Matthew McCarthy thing?
No, it's a we thing. It's an us thing. The reason why we don't have a separate department for it is because it's everybody's job, right? And I think there's a bit of a false narrative around where social purpose or having a purpose with your organization, particularly if your organization is a business. I think it's everybody's job, right? And when you divorce, I think having an impact in the world from the people that are doing the day job of growing the business, improving products, creating stuff that your fans love, you're actually creating, again, I think a kind of false separation. It doesn't mean that there aren't people in the business who are specialists. So we've got people on our staff that are activists. We've got people who are really focused on racial equity and climate justice, and they're experts within our business, and they liaise with the outside world where we get a lot of our inspiration. But I don't think you necessarily have to have a CSR department. If that's a way to jumpstart purpose within your organization or business, fantastic. but it's not required. And in fact, the more you disseminate and build into the kind of the bones, the fiber of your organization purpose, the more impact you can have in all the things you do.
If you were to compare the density of purpose, of commitment to purpose in Ben & Jerry's to, say, Haagen-Dazs or Breyers, what would stand out? How would you compare yourself to your competitors' overall sense of purpose? And I don't know if they have CSR officers or not, but do you think about those things?
Not a whole lot, to be honest with you. I think that I'd love
another dead end.
Yeah,
but I had to ask.
I would love it if more businesses stood up. So part of what we do at Ben & Jerry's, we're not always right. We don't have all the answers. And again, we're an ice cream company. But
what's been your biggest error?
Well, I haven't had a whole lot of screw-ups yet at Ben & Jerry's, to be honest with you. I think my biggest error in my career is waiting too long to embed purpose into things that I was doing every day, to prioritize what I felt personally into the stuff I did every day. I think I started my career believing that these were separate things. You didn't bring your purpose to work. Your job was to grow businesses. I've been in consumer packaged goods my whole career, or most of it, and I think I had this crazy idea that somehow that was separate. And in fact, the more I've merged or brought myself to work, or brought myself, it's guided my career, it's guided what I do, and it's forced me to step up and step forward in ways I didn't imagine when I was younger.
I actually looked into some of the other brands you've worked on, and I'm intrigued. So since you've opened that door, Hellmann's mayonnaise, right? And Knorr chicken broth or chicken stuff. I mean, I know it from chicken broth, but I mean, kind of, you know, an interesting lineup of things you've been involved with. So show us what the Matthew McCarthy DNA at a mayonnaise company. I mean, I don't even touch mayonnaise anymore, but why would I want to if you were running it?
I think the idea is pretty simple.
Yeah.
I mean, every product, so let me take a step back. Anything you work on, you can find a way to have a positive
So how did you help mayonnaise?
Yeah, it's a good question. So listen, mayonnaise is made up of eggs, oil, and vinegar. That's what mayonnaise is, and we use a lot of eggs. So we affect animals, right? So we use eggs in the product. And when we decided to go conventional eggs to basically cage-free eggs, no one knew how the hell to do it. It's like, well, it's going to be really expensive. Yeah, but it's better for humane treatment of animals. Yeah, but this, yeah, but that. And you just have to step forward and say, well, is it the right thing to do, even if you're not sure? And sometimes not being sure and having some fear and being like, is this going to be the right thing to do, can actually be a great barometer of why to move forward. When we moved over, we had to change an entire supply chain. So there weren't enough eggs that were cage-free, you know, in a day's worth of sales available.
Cage-free eggs.
They just didn't exist. Yeah. So when you have the privilege of working on a big business like Hellmann's, when you make a change, it can really change an industry.
And the chicken broth?
It's another one.
Same thing?
I mean, it kind of sounds silly. I mean, at Knorr, we make a lot of bouillon, and we use chicken broth, and we certainly don't use...
It's great on the South Beach diet. That's what, you know...
I can hook you up with some of that. But again, how chickens are treated is a commitment we made about getting to higher animal, what we call higher animal welfare standards. Is it perfect? No. Is it a continuum? Yes. I think purpose is not a destination. It's always a journey. You can always be doing more, and you can't let that dissuade you, because sometimes you're like, well, we're going to go through all this pain. It's going to be more expensive. It's difficult. People may criticize this. I mean, the minute you start doing something that actually involves purpose, you need to get ready for criticism. People don't criticize folks that are just on the sideline as much as people who get into it. So you have to have a little bit of a thick skin to say, hey, we're going to go in this space and we're not going to be right all the time.
So I know Unilever is a company you've worked at for many years, and Unilever owns Ben & Jerry's. I had the privilege of interviewing your chairman and CEO, Paul Pullman, a number of times. And I don't know if many of you know, Paul is one of the great leaders in sustainability and trying to show the profitability of sustainability, et cetera. And I guess from your perspective, I'd like to have an honest take on to what degree are the Paul Pullmans out there still odd ducks, or whether or not more are flocking to be like him and do what he did. I remember on the day he was hired, he suspended quarterly guidance to investors, and his line was, "They couldn't fire me on the day they hired me." And it was a very interesting position that he took, you know, and brave. But he sort of stood out, and I think one of the questions that we're asking is gravity taking us in the right place, where that example, your example, is becoming more the norm, and you're going to be less special over time, or is the gap between good and evil going to remain wide?
More and more businesses that I see are moving in the direction of putting purpose at the center of what they're doing. I think we've got a hell of a long way to go, to be honest with you. Not enough businesses, not enough organizations are moving fast enough. And for some folks, there's some stick, and so for other folks, it's a bit of carrot. And some businesses are moving because they've run into some difficulties. I think that businesses that are focused on bringing purpose into what they do out of a desire to serve the people that they serve with their products or services are the ones that are generally going to win. And in fact, I think that too much discussion about brands that are struggling today is around changing retail systems, e-commerce. That category is not relevant anymore. And I don't think there's enough conversation about the role of purpose within brands. In fact, I think that it's usually like a separate conversation. We're having a conversation about changing business systems and e-commerce and whatnot. But in fact, the matter is we as people, not just consumers, are spending more of our energy and more of our dollars every day on stuff that we buy, stuff that we bring into our home, things that we bring to our family. And we want to know that stuff does something, and it does something. It does what it was intended when we bought it, but it also is having some impact, and it can be a small impact. And those businesses that don't do that, I think, ignore the role of purpose at their peril.
You know, I want to make this tense for you and the audience. We have a lot of people in the purpose world, the CSR world, here with us today, and you've been in this environment for a long time. And I want to give you an opportunity to take a whack at them. What do you think they do right, and what do you think they don't do right in terms of creating a climate where it's easier for business to move into these places?
All right, here it is. I'm going to critique everybody. No. I think this, we are not creating enough urgency. I think we're working through our systems. We're trying to get business leaders on board, and we're kind of showing evidence. Well, show me why that makes sense. And then we do some research. And then, I think we need much more of a baseball bat approach to moving purpose into the center of our organization.
That's a tweetable moment, what you just heard there. So what does a baseball moment mean?
I think that we have an opportunity to be a lot more direct and confrontational about the risk and the reward of not bringing purpose into. I feel like we're very often, and this has been true for myself. So he asked me about what's a criticism of myself. I think there's a level of urgency, and I think the folks that are in the purpose business are not being heard enough by the people who are controlling the P&L. And I think that there's a different approach that we need to take to actually light a bigger fire around the urgency, and tying together the fact that if you've got a business or part of your business that's struggling, a product line, a segment, a region of the world, I guarantee you that purpose can be a powerful agent there. But often that discussion is completely separate. We're talking about what's going on with our market share, what's going on with our profit, and then later, maybe at 5:30 in the afternoon, we have a conversation with the people that are responsible with purpose. That is a broken idea.
I'm fascinated in reading about how you manage inside Ben & Jerry's, that you have these encounters with your people, that you have that you subject yourself to criticism internally, you hear ideas from the people. How do you actually technically do that? I mean, I think it's one thing to sort of say that you have an open and transparent system and that you hear this, but it's another thing to actually do it in practice. And I just love, in terms of show and tell, of best practices of that, how do you structure those encounter with your own teams and your own staff so that they're meaningful and not just fluff?
Yeah, I can't say that I do it perfectly at all. I'm still a student of, I consider myself the CEO.
Oh, then your communications people are really good because they make it look like you're so good at it.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm surrounded by a lot of group of people that are a lot smarter than I am. I think my job is the leader, and I think this is true for the leaders in the business, need to be a lot more humble when it comes to listening to the people that are in the business on the front line of bringing purpose. Because a lot of those folks that are driving purpose may not understand the gears of the business. They may not understand the depths of the product or how we make money or how we grow. And so I think inviting people who are the advocates of, the experts in the purpose space that maybe you think think you want to go, inviting those people more into the everyday of the business versus saying their job is a purpose-related thing. And that's actually quite simple to do. You just need to include people in more parts of what you're doing versus exclude them. I think the second thing I would say is that the role of personal purpose is absolutely critical. Right? So if all we talk about all day is what the company wants and what the business needs, and you're missing, I think, a big part of the power of us as team members in a company, or employees, whatever you want to call it, helping people get in touch with their individual purpose and inviting them, creating the space for people to bring their personal purpose to work and maybe self-select what they work on other than just what they went to school for or what their skill set is, can be, I've seen that be a huge unlock. So training purpose within the organization, bringing people in and spending the time and the money to give individuals the opportunity to explore and either find or crystallize a bit their own personal purpose and why the hell they're doing what they're doing every day so that they can bring it in. That creates a big unlock within the organization versus only talking about what's right for the brand or the business. These two things can actually, one can be the fuel to the other.
I want to go to all of you in a moment, but I want to ask as well if you've had a good opportunity to hang out with Ben and Jerry.
I have.
Yeah, and what's that like? Are they you know, are they meaningful to you still? I mean, I met them 22 years ago. One of them, I can't remember if it was Ben or Jerry, but you know, met the cows, met the, you know, like they were. I asked you if you owned a cow, and you said no.
Not yet.
They were sort of proud of their cows, but I'm just sort of interested in how they have continue to infuse you, if they do it all, or do you just totally ignore them?
No, I don't ignore them, and I feel really, this is actually one of the special parts of, I think, working on Ben and Jerry's, is that Ben and Jerry are still in and around the business. I see both of them often. I see Jerry probably a little bit more than Ben. They're both very busy with their own stuff, but having them in and around the business 40 years, 4 decades after the business was started is a huge privilege. And they're actually super approachable. So it's not uncommon that Jerry or Ben will say to me, hey, what the hell, why aren't you doing this, or why aren't you doing that? Have you thought of this? And I consider that a gift, right? Because they've got to, just to have the founders of the business still be there.
Just a quick follow-up, you know, I was talking to someone with Salesforce, and I've gotten to know Mark Benioff a little bit, and I'm just wondering if Mark Benioff is the Ben and Jerry's of software or something, or CRM, and kind of what the characteristics are. What makes them so different than the run-of-the-mill, you know, Harvard Business School, General Mills EVP that becomes a CEO?
It's actually pretty clear to me, and I may be right or wrong, but it's clear nonetheless, is that Ben and Jerry, after about a year in the business, it was going pretty well. They were selling a lot of ice cream in Vermont. They almost sold the business because they realized they were becoming businessmen. And Ben and Jerry said, man, I don't know if that's what I want to be. Literally, this is not, you can read it in the book, and if you were to talk to Ben and Jerry, they would share this with you. And they almost sold the business, and a friend of theirs says, what the hell? Why? This is awesome. You guys are making kick-ass ice cream. What are you thinking? And Ben and Jerry are like, well, we don't want to be that guy. We don't want to be businessmen. And a friend of them said, well, you can do it however you want. And that was the light bulb moment, I think, for Ben and Jerry. And they said, oh, we can do it however, okay, fantastic. And again, that's 4 decades ago. And so I think the spirit of that is something I love it, I aspire to it, and I want to bring that into what I'm doing every day. Is to say, I don't need to do it the way, and in fact, what got us here won't get us there, common adage, but I think that's really important, is not letting what got your business or your brand to the point we're at today somehow is going to carry you into the future.
So interesting. Let me go to all of you. Yes, we have a question in the back. And tell us who you are, and and if you have a favorite flavor.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So I have to say, I don't typically eat Ben and Jerry's.
That's totally allowed.
Change that.
Yeah, totally allowed.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm a big ice cream person.
How about mayonnaise? No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, so hi, I'm Alex. I am a strategist at BBDO, an advertising agency in New York. I just wanted to, do you mind if I hold this? Sorry, I'm really bad with distance. So I wanted to ask, it's great to see that purpose has become a central part of everything that you do and what you bring to Ben and Jerry's. What would you say to people who are not, who want to encourage a culture and ethos around purpose, but aren't necessarily business decision makers themselves, or such as myself in more of the service industry, are enablers, but not the ones who ultimately make the decision? How do you encourage that buy-in?
not a decision maker, but still affecting the culture. Any advice?
Yeah, I'd say you need to get leverage on your organization, and it may sound a little aggressive, but the reality is there's a slow way and there's a fast way. You want to be on the fast way. You don't want to look back 12 months or 24 months from now and say, I could have done that faster. So I think that understanding what motivates the business deciders in your business, understanding, so you have to go to school a bit on how we're making decisions at your organization and get leverage. And that might be, one of our competitors is doing awesome work in this space. I think it's a bunch of BS that we're not doing that too. Or, I studied this work around market share potential and or profitability. Our fans, the people we serve, are now asking for more purpose in the services that they buy. Why aren't we doing it? So you need to create a little bit of urgency. I would say a lot of urgency, and then you can always dial it back a bit. But unless you're meeting with a little bit of discomfort, I'll speak personally. If I feel great and comfortable every day, I think I'm doing it wrong. If everything I'm doing every day feels nice and relaxing and I'm going in the right direction, I may be totally cooked and I don't even know it yet. So a little bit of friction is usually a good signal. It may not always be perfect, but if you feel great and everything's satisfactory, I guarantee you, you're not pushing hard enough.
Matthew, you've said you want to double the social impact of Ben & Jerry's, and just real short form, how do you measure that? How do you go from 2x in a fuzzy world of doing good?
I think two things. First of all, it's super hard to answer it. Putting that out there is designed to create an impetus for it, to create some urgency around it. I think the first way that I would measure it is the team getting excited, and are they bringing more ideas to me or my team members that scares people a little bit?
Interesting. Yes, sir.
Yes, Ozan Gurel again. About the pecan resist product and also the statement. A number of years ago, the Citizens United case came down, and a lot of people complained that corporations should not have political speech rights similar to individuals. But those same people didn't really complain about pecan resist. Why is that?
Listen, I don't know. I think a lot of us, we tell the stories, we drive the narratives that support our goals. I think at the end of the day, I want to be super explicit about we're in the ice cream business and here are our values, and I want to make that very much transparent to folks. And if people get excited about that, awesome. And if they want to criticize us, I fully accept that as well.
Right here.
Hi, my favorite flavor is half-baked.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And
awesome.
I'm Ellie, and I work with Susan McPherson, who was up here earlier.
Right.
So my question is, it's a two-parter. You can answer one or both. But we'd love to know a little bit more about when you decide to take a stance on social issues, particularly ones that are risky. What does that process look like internally? How do you decide what to focus on, what not to focus on? And what advice would you have for other business leaders who might say, we'd love to take a stand, but we don't want to alienate potential customers from a real business perspective?
I think it's a great question. I think the starting point is understand what your North Star is and what are the actual areas and or spaces that you're either passionate about or that make sense to your business. They don't necessarily have to make sense. A lot of stuff we stand for and Ben & Jerry's have been standing for don't have anything to do with ice cream. Some do. For example, animal humane treatment and environment. I think the first thing is to get a set of, it could be one thing, it could be a small number of things, and understand what's the relevance to your business and or the people that serve the business, and start to socialize those ideas, knowing that people are going to be a little uncomfortable with it. So embrace the discomfort around that. And I would also recommend to start with one thing, is to decide something you want to do and then stick with it, and encourage people to realize that we will stub our toe. If you expect this to be just like a sales campaign and we put it out there in the advertising, and yay, isn't it great, it's not right. So helping people understand that you will have some pain moments, and that's part of learning how to sharpen, how to bring impact to the thing that you believe in.
Yes, right here.
Hi, I'm David Hessekiel with Engage for Good, and Sherry Garcia has helped make me the man I am today, slightly overweight.
Me too.
Just go back to your personal history. I mean, when I look at Ben & Jerry's, it's clear, or it's fairly clear to us, you are a brand that is associated with being attached to causes. But when you were at Hellman's, that legacy wasn't there. how did you, could you tell us a little bit more about the decision
this
to
room may
make
be the only ones in the world that know that there were cage-free eggs used in Hellman's mayonnaise.
Yes.
Right,
So
yeah.
could you tell us a little bit more about cage-free eggs, and what was that, did that push sales?
Yeah. The stepping stone actually started from product-based work we were doing with people that use our mayonnaise, and people didn't know what mayonnaise was made out of. So the first step, actually going back probably 10 or 12 years, was it didn't come out of social purpose, is the point I'm making. It came out of how do we help people get excited about the quality and the consistency of the product that we're making for that slim part of their day where they're interested in putting mayonnaise on a sandwich or whatnot. And then, then the next step was saying, well, wait a minute, if we're talking about the ingredients in our product and we want to be proud about them, is there more we should be talking about? So one led to the other. So actually an exploratory about the quality and the consistency of our recipe led us to, well, if we were really serious about this, are we just going to stop at yum, it tastes great? Or are we going to say, where did these eggs come from? So it's actually, once we kind of delved into going deeper on the product, then we realized that if we wanted to be true to ourselves, we had to take it to other places that people cared about, such as animal welfare.
You know, Matthew, I'm getting a really, really cool idea for an article right now as I stare at this ice cream. Do you get data on who consumes this and where? Like, could you tell me how it goes in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Savannah, Georgia, you know, or any number of others, you know, red states? Can you sort of look at, you know, Kellyanne Conway is famous for finding the Trump voters out, the hidden Trump voters. I'm interested in the hidden resistance voters.
Yeah.
Is there a way to track the hidden resistance voters with Ben & Jerry's ice cream?
Yeah, there is. I think we.
Are you into sharing that data privately? And you know,
possibly. I think people.
Be a great article.
People who care, they actually make themselves known. Right. So if we've got, let's say, around 10 million fans who follow us on social media that we've got relationships with, the folks that are the most interested, the most committed, the most passionate, we don't have to search for them. They raise their hands. They come to us. They tell us what they think we should be doing. But as it relates to the product, yeah, there's a lot of work we do to understand what flavors are selling where.
Fascinating. We'll talk later. I want to add one other thing that's really cool about this guy. How many of you like, I mean, you like Ben & Jerry's, but how many of you love the Bronx Zoo? Okay, I just want to add here another little interesting dimple is that Matthew's wife basically heals all the animals there. You know, she's Dr. Doolittle of the Bronx Zoo. Is that fair?
Yeah, she runs the animal
she's kind of cool. So I really think Matthew McCarthy, thank you so much for your insights on this.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks very much.